Alright Exiles, with the launch of Path of Exile 2 into early access on November 15th fast approaching, I think it's time we touch bases on some of the changes that a good portion of you, including myself, may have missed. Before doing some research on this video, I actually wasn't aware of a lot of these changes we're going to be talking about in this video. Some current features in Path of Exile 1 are set to undergo some pretty significant changes, and I think it's important we actually talk about it, as well as likely an upcoming announcement we should expect soon for the November 15th launch. Considering how close we are to getting our hands on Path of Exile 2, I think it's pretty clear we'll be seeing some new information very soon, so let's dive into that in this video. Alright, as I said in the intro, there's going to be some announcements coming up. Let's talk about those. And just for clarity, I have no insider information. This is just what I expect. Today is the 23rd when I'm releasing this video. I think I'm recording this on the 22nd. There's two key days that I think are going to be important that we should see some announcement for Path of Exile 2. One of them is today, the day I'm posting this video. If there is an announcement or any information, obviously I'm going to cover that in a video later today if that's the case. The reason for this is because October the 23rd marks an anniversary for Path of Exile, and it kind of makes sense to maybe do an announcement on this day. Not 100%, but there's a good chance we'll see something today. If we don't see anything today, then very likely we'll be seeing some information on the 1st. That will leave about 15 days leading into the launch of Path of Exile 2. Talking to a lot of the different creators, that's kind of where a lot of us think is going to have some information. It makes a lot of sense. With that in mind, I would like to point out that there are a lot of creators within the Path of Exile community who are, interacts with GGG that are on vacation. Not vacation, but they're like out and about kind of doing things. They didn't obviously specify what they were doing, so they're very likely interacting with the Path of Exile team. GGG has always been pretty good about, interacting with like Zizaran and Ziggy D and all these other creators, and some of those guys are actively out and about right now, so there's a good chance they're like doing stuff with them. So again, we should be seeing some announcements very soon, which I'm expecting to be on the 1st, so keep an eye out for that. With that in mind, I did want to give you guys a quick refresher or give you guys some information about some of the changes that's happening between Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2 that I think are actually important that we didn't cover in previous videos, because honestly I haven't really touched on the subject too much. But let's go over some changes that I think are very important to note. So first, let's talk about shield blocking and let's talk about dual wielding. So when it comes to shield blocking, I think a lot of us have seen footage up until this point about shield blocking. It is passive as well as active. This is something I think a lot of players were wondering, because there is a active block. That's a brand new feature that's coming to Path of Exile 2, which is actually really cool. You can actively block, and this will block 100% of the damage that I've seen thus far. I'm assuming that you do have a threshold in which you can block. I'm not sure how you can scale that. I don't know if there's like a block threshold or something like that. Obviously I haven't played the game, but from all the footage that I've seen from Karn or other creators who have posted about melee and blocking, you are capable of just actively blocking, which is actually really cool. On top of that, you can passively block. Again, a lot of players were wondering if that is a feature. You're going to be rewarded more for actively blocking, but for those of you who are worried about passively blocking, that is still present in the game as far as I know so far, so that is going to be really cool. On top of that, we did get a little bit of information from a dev team that talked about dual wielding. Obviously I love playing dual wielding. As someone who really loved the two one-handed axe playstyle that isn't necessarily that powerful in Path of Exile 1, we did get some information from a dev that did say that they haven't necessarily talked about it in depth, but they did say that we're going to be seeing some new changes that's going to make dual wielding actually like viable. Right now it's not very viable unless you like super invest into it. I mean, it's viable, right? It's usable, but it's not quite as strong as just going something like the Bone Zone or something like that. Using a two-handed axe or something would probably be better. But yeah, they are going to be working on that. So for all my dual wielders who really love it, me being a Zerker main, I really love it. Yeah, we should see some big changes from not only dual wielding, but also we should have a lot more love on melee with the active and passive block, which is really cool. Next, I want to cover some tooltip based updates that are actually fairly important. So first off, there is going to be some changes when it comes to the minions in the game. I am by no means a Necromancer player. I am in Diablo 2, funny enough. But in Path of Exile, I don't really like the Necromancer style, but I know a lot of you are Necro mains, love your minions. I mean, you don't necessarily need to be a Necromancer, you know what I mean though. Anyway, minion stats are going to be present in the game, so you can actually visually look at the minions and see exactly how they are scaling, how buffs are affecting them, things of the sort. So that's going to be a welcome stat change that I think a lot of like minion based mains are really going to love. But yeah, minions are going to have stats that you can actually view, which is really nice for clarity. Speaking of clarity, we're going to get more information on proximity based effects. For example, when it says you need to do things and things are affected by nearby, we're actually going to get measurements of what it is. So it'll say like, I don't know, 30 meters, 40 meters, probably closer to like 10 to 15, but we'll actually get a indication of what those things actually mean. So they'll actually specify some things, so it's not so like it doesn't elude you. So when it comes to clarity of things, we're going to be getting more stats. There's a few other things that the dev team has talked about, but these two things are, in my opinion, the more important stuff, especially the minions. While we're talking about the witch, because I know the witch loves using curses, let's talk about the curses, because there's going to be a change on the curses that may be a little weird for you guys to adjust to. In Path of Exile 1, when you cast a curse, it instantaneously apply on the enemy. In Path of Exile 2, there's going to be a delay on it. Not sure what the reason is for that, but I believe it was like something like 2.5 seconds before it actually gets onto the opponent. So there's going to be a little bit of delay before, you know, you actually apply the curse. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of different effects like this that happen that way, not just specific to curses. Obviously, we'll have to see. That's a bit of speculation. But for those of you who like to use minions or like to use curses, these are some changes that you as casters should be familiar with. So yeah, that's something important to note. Now, obviously, I did want to cover some of the status things like stuns, freezes, and stuff like that whenever you're facing off against opponents. Now, obviously, when we've seen Path of Exile 2, one of the things we saw early on was the fact that bosses can be affected by stuns and freezes. In Path of Exile 1, there's not a lot of that. I mean, there is, but not as much as, you know, you would like to see, where bosses and stuff don't really get stunned. In Path of Exile 2, obviously you're able to do this kind of stuff, which is really cool, outside of just like killing normal rare mobs or whatever. Like actual bosses actually can be stunned and frozen. They're gonna have some form of like diminishing return, so whenever you stun an opponent and it continues to get stunned, next time it's gonna be much harder to stun them, which again makes a lot of sense because for balance reasons. But I think this is actually really smart and a really great way to balance it, because in my opinion, having the character feel powerful is actually really good. And so that like your stun stuff, your free stuff don't actually feel useless. But in the same vein, you don't want to overdo it. So I think this is actually a really cool change that they're adding to Path of Exile 2. Quickly, before we move on to the next set of like changes, I did want to shout out a creator, Dream Core. I have him linked down in the description, and you can see on screen now. I've been going to his channel to just learn a lot of different mechanics. He's been teaching about a lot of this stuff I talked about in this video. Be sure to show him a little bit of love. I'll have that linked down as well, the curse video, so you guys understand it. But yeah, check out Dream Core. He's a really cool creator. He is teaching a lot of mechanics, and I'll be keeping a close eye on his channel. Finally, the last change that I think is actually going to be a little jarring and probably one of the more controversial changes that's going to happen in Path of Exile 2 is the changes to energy shield and like things that can bleed through it. And funny I say bleed through it, because in Path of Exile 1 currently, the only thing that can go through your energy shield is just a form of rechargeable, it's essentially health, basically. I'm sure you guys know what energy shield is, but it's basically a different form of life to some degree. It can recharge and then it protects you. But the difference between energy shield and health in Path of Exile 1 is chaos can bypass energy shield and go directly to your life. So if you have builds that are low life based builds or things like that, it can go directly past your energy shield and then kill you instantly, which is kind of annoying. But with Path of Exile 2, there's going to be some changes to that. So when it comes to chaos damage is going to deal double damage specifically to shields and not bypass your health, but it will obviously deal double the damage, so that's really important to note. But the other thing is bleed and poison is going to directly affect your health. This means there's two different mechanics that will actively bypass your energy shield and go directly to your health. The reason why this, in my opinion, is controversial, because in Path of Exile 1, chaos damage isn't as relevant as bleed and poison. I mean, almost everything bleeds and poisons you in Path of Exile 1. In Path of Exile 2, these things are going to bypass your energy shield and go directly to your health. So it's going to be a little harder for these low life based builds to be able to sustain, since very likely things are going to be bleeding significantly more than things are going to be applying chaos like in Path of Exile 1. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. I am not an energy shield main, I'm a HP Chad, but let me know, energy shield mains, what you think about this change. If you like it or you dislike it. Obviously we haven't played it, but I'd like to get you guys thoughts. Anyways guys, that's pretty much all the information I have for today. Again, we have a lot of news and information that's going to be coming in the next couple of days that I think are important. If you are trying to stay up to date on all things Path of Exile 2, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be covering it, making builds whenever it releases on the November the 15th. Also, make sure to check out the Discord. We're doing a giveaway for Path of Exile 2, so, you know, maybe go check that out. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think about all the information in the video. Don't forget to like, check out Dream Core, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video very soon. Later, Exiles.